Right. So I've gone through week 3 and I see scatterings of minor revisions that need to be made. So I've created a test student one that I can go through those and show you a lot of those so that you see how you might be able to go back and improve yours if you so desire, depending on your score and your level of desire to get everything absolutely perfect and things like that, and the amount of time you've got available. And many of these skills that you're going to see here are going to be useful to you as you do week 4 work. So let's go ahead and go through right off the bat. One of the main ones that I saw was naming the layout. Most people got the layout tab set correctly, and do the naming. So let's see how that works. I'm going to go to right click on the layout. And the first thing I'll do is I'll do the page setup manager and modify. And this is how I check. I come in, oh, look, I see PDF, ACAD CTB. I see everything's looking right. That looks good. But now I see that the next thing says name the layout according to the plate number. That means that this should be plate 2.1 R1. So I'm going to rename it as plate 2.1 R1. Oh, and I have my caps locks on, and that doesn't look very good. Plate 2.1 R1. And I did that by right clicking on the little tab and selecting rename. That was probably the most common thing that I saw. And then set the viewport scale for 1:1, and then lock the model space, that viewport. So let's go ahead and that. I'm going to go to my paper and change it to model. And then, oh, over here, that's really hard to see, but it says this is very, very close. 0.9898. That's very close to 1:1. But I'm going to unlock it now and select 1:1. So when you get this tiny little arrow over here, that gives you all these, and these are normal scales that we use on our drawings, and that's what we want to do because a scale is actually something. These are scale factors. A scale is something you lay on your piece of paper that measures directly, and then I'll go ahead and lock it back to my paper. So those were some of the things. Most people got this all the way right. Many people forgot to rename the layout. I know there's a ton of stuff to do on here. And then some people just barely missed on getting that 1:1. And what happens is you think you've got it right, and then you do a little something, and you're doing some drawing, and it just changes, a little scroll wheel or something. So that's why we want to get it locked. Okay, so that was that part of it. Now, the next one is how do I find out whether you've got these loaded because you're not going to use any of these later on. So what I do is I open up something called the Design Center. I type DC and it opens up, and I go to Open Drawings, and you're going to see that today. And I make the plus sign so that I can see my line types. And I see that those line types are not in here. You have to do those, and you do that by typing line type, enter, and then doing that whole load function. Hidden to and all, and I know that was a lot of work because you have to do them all. You're going to see this week that there's a quicker way to do that. But I wanted to have you have practice. So you do need to get all those done and then click OK and see it showed up over here. So I checked all of these, and you should check yours too to make sure that you have all of those line types in there. Then you can do a save as you go. Okay, so that was setting your line types. And then I want it. Now, this is something that I can't really tell if you got it done or not unless you show me in your executive summary. So in the executive summary, I was looking for something like selecting all of those, go to your properties, and see these are already, they're on my geo layer. So I didn't really check that part too much because that's going to be checked later on. Okay, so but this is the main thing from activity 2. I'm going to check to see that those are all in here by looking at your line types. Okay, and for the layouts, I should see one called plate 2.1 R1. In this case, this should be down here. So let's see what plate 3 is. Okay, so now I should have 2 new layers, and I'm going to go check those with the layers, and I see them right here. They're here. And I can also check them to see if they were done correctly. Dim text is red, geo is white. Oh, look, these are not what I was expecting. Now, many people forgot to set their line weights as inches. So you would right click your little line weights bar, click on the line weight setting, and make sure that you're talking it in inches, because I asked for 0.014 and 0.028. There we go. Oh, and now all of a sudden you can see that really looks different on my sheet. So that's another thing that I checked. You know, if you got these in here, that was good. If you got some numbers in here, that was good. But it was hard if you did not get your line weight settings into, and I right click the little settings here, and I want to make sure that my units are in inches. It's kind of, you know, that's why I wanted you to do it over and over again. So those were the main things from this one. Okay. This was the main one. I wanted to look at these, and then I was hoping see these, and then set everything by layer and set them as geometry. That's the next thing. I'm going to select, I'm select all of those, and I'm going to go to my properties again, and they should all be set color by layer. Layer is geo. Line type should be by layer. All of those should be by layer. Back to my piece of paper. So that was another little thing that some people got these in, but then forgot to put them on, and particularly set the line type as by layer and set the layer as, both of those things have to happen. And that's because over here, you undid that. You fixed them as continuous. So you need to set them as by layer now. Now in activity 4, plot scale, text height, dim center, and the dim text should be on the dim layer. So let's look at this. Okay, that's set on the dim layer. Dim text by layer, that all looks just right. And I can just check that very quickly. I can also check it right over here, okay, to see if that's there. Now, these two, since those are dimensions, I would like to see those on the dimension layer. Also, I didn't take off points for that. I was pretty generous in all these. If you got the gist down and you really got most of these down, there was so much to do that if you were showing good skill, I gave you almost all your points. Over again. Here are the big ones that you really need to be able to do. You need to be able to load line types, because later on you're going to make more layers and they're going to need all those line types. you should be able to check your layers and make sure you've got the layers that are asked for. Okay, and you should be able to name your layouts. Those are the big ones. And if you could do those, you got most of your points. And if you understand that, then it's no big deal. You don't have to go back and do anything over again. But if you consistently missed some of those, on 1 or 2 or 3 of them, go back and fix those all. No need to turn them back in. All of you are doing fine with your points. Don't worry about it. Put your effort into using these skills this week on. Okay, so there we go. A very nice job overall. There was a lot of repetition. Well, that's the design phase. This week you're going to learn in week 4 a little bit more about how you can do this more efficiently instead of having to, type. Okay, there we go. Those are your comments on your week 3 grading summer session design